So just think about it, right? So there will be some requirements which is kind of specified into the document, but then there will be some additional things that you need to think about it to get started. So if you look into the process around the managing users, right? There was ability to identify how many different types of users are, like site administrator, lender, dealer, and then there were different functions that can access to it, right? So if you think about it, you can break it down that into multiple things, right? One is I need to be able to first log in into the system, right? And then I will be able to see what all things I can do in the system. Now let's take it to first steps, which is I should be able to log in. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
So when you think about this thing, if I have to set this requirement, what are the things that I need to do? So think about what are the possible scenarios you have. Right? So one valid scenario could be is, hey, I have a valid user ID and a practice to log in, right? So you can just say valid user ID. Yes. Right, so let's try to see if I can press it down. Right? So first one is valid. Right? Then I have to worry about it. What if they have invalid password? Then I want to make sure that they can't log in, right? So second thing could have possibility you can have it is a valid user ID and invalid password. Another possibility could happen is I don't even have a valid user ID. And at that point, it doesn't matter whether I have a valid password or invalid password, right? The fourth possibility could be is sometimes if it's taking time, you just click it without entering any information, right? So there are 4 different possible scenarios that could happen when I try to log in with the user ID and password. Everybody good with this? 4 different scenarios, understand why this is? Okay, so if you look at it, right? Each criteria, this one is should result into successful login, right? This one should be fail to login. This one should also do fail to login. This one, it could be fail to login or give me an error message.
Something like, hey, you must provide user ID and password, something like that. Yes, good with me so far, 4 different scenarios that I need to do. So in order for me to validate that, can I do this? I have to think about the 4 things and write a test case for those 4 things, and I have to test it out for everything. Right? So yesterday I was talking about, hey, you can think about high-level requirements, how many test cases you needed. So this one requirement will result in 4 test cases. Right? So now let's look into it. Well, if that is the case, how do I write this one test case? Okay. So actually, it's my screen share.
Yeah, it should be there to
Okay, but now I can see this thing. See, earlier I didn't have this thing. Okay. All right. So let's look at it. What I have it, right? So this is a simple template to write a test case. Okay. And depending on the tools that you're using it, you may have a little bit different variation, right? But let's talk about what is the basic minimum information I need. Okay. So first of all, I need to put together an information for which project I'm going to be using it, right? In what module. Then it contains information about who wrote the test, right? So there's the metadata. Who created the test? When it was done? Is this a version? Remember, like you will continuously update the system requirement document, and they may require you to continuously update your test cases. So you want to have a multiple versions. If you run the execution, right, you want to capture the data whether it was successfully ran or is it failed when it was ran last time and so on. Then priority. Remember we talked about yesterday. If I have to write so many test cases, I need to figure it out. What is the priority? Is this a high priority, medium priority, or low priority? And that's going to be determined based on if I'm running short of time, what all tests I need to run first. Okay. Then title. So what will be the title that, like, if I can do it when I'm writing 500 tests, I should have some meaningful title so it's easier for me to figure out, hey, this is this versus this is that. Okay. The next aspect comes as a precondition. Remember we talked about example of calculator when you did 2 plus 2, right? You need to know what was the state of the system. Is it like starting from scratch, or it was already some pre-calculation and I'm adding on top of it, right? So some of the things you can put into precondition is what was the state, or what is the state of the system is currently, or what is the truth to be valid in the system before I can perform this particular test case. Then if there is any external dependency or internal dependency of this test case and something else. And then a high level summary of what is the purpose of this test and what you're anticipating to get out. Then there will be a core segment of the test case. Remember we talked about, okay, I need to figure it out what I'm going to do step by step. And then when I perform some action into the system, what should the result I should see, right? So that's what you're going to see here. What are the test steps and what is the expected result associated with that step when I perform that step. Then what data I'm going to use it. What is the post condition? So that means if I successfully execute this test case, what should be the state of the system should be? And the status. Remember we talked about the life cycle as I go through it from requirement all the way to acceptance in the SDLC. These things is going to change, right? It's planned, designed, then executed, accepted, and so on. And then any additional notes that you might need to write. Okay. So let's take this requirement, this scenario, and write a test case for it. Okay. So I'll go ahead and take in this one, right? So this one, you can say, hey, this project is R-Flow. And this is going to be relating to the security. Remember, I'm trying to do a login. And if you look into the design document, one of the components that I did about is the security component. Okay. So then I'll put the metadata for this test. Just put a 19 or something. So initially, I'm going to say version 1.0. This is not executed. So priority, since I cannot perform any function without logging in, I'm going to put this as a high. Should I be able to log in or not? Okay. You don't need to write it. I'll forward this thing for you guys to that. So I just want you to pay attention to this here. Okay. Let's say this is my first test case. I'm just going to put a convention T01. If you're using online tool, it'll automatically put the test case title and so on. So I'm going to call this as site admin login with valid data. So now I know that, hey, out of this 4 scenarios, I'm using this one. Okay. Then precondition. So I need to first make sure is this username and password is valid in the system. Then only it's going to be able to work through it. Right? So if I give you some login, before that I need to make sure your account is created and your user ID and a password is created for you, right? So that's what it means, that credential is account ID, user is present in the system, right? You can just also say, so this is a prerequisite. Now, it's not going to depend on anything else. It's only everything is in the system, right? The summary, you can just say, right? So you can put the detail like this thing. So now this is title. That is just a one-liner. But when I read the summary, it gives me detail exactly what should be doing, right? So it tells me, hey, I'm going to give a valid user ID and password, and it should result into successful login. Okay. Now the steps. Okay. Think about it, any system where you have to log in. What are the things that you do it for? Homepage, right? So go to homepage, right? So you can just say in typically you do it in the browser URL field, enter URL for the system as provided in the data section and hit enter. Okay, so here I'm going to say I'm going to provide the URL information in the data section, right? So I need a URL information, right? So let's say uh, Can I borrow your? If you look into the second section, where on the folder where right exercises are, underneath that there is an information about all these login information and user ID and password. Okay, so it is for online, it's right here in this document. So I'm going to copy that this is the URL. Okay. So when you enter
We can't hear you again.
looks like there is some issues with Zoom this morning. No, I think it's recording is still continuing on the cloud. It just said it kicks me out from the share and puts me back into the mute mode. I don't know why. It may be like it's kind of having a transient connectivity and it's trying to reconnect it. Okay. So I don't know till what point you heard it. All I was talking about is this is where in your document, if you go ahead and look at page 3, that's where the information is present about the URL that will be available for you to test it. Okay. Are you guys able to hear it now? Give me a visual clue since I don't have the screen sharing right now.
Sorry, which page do you get?
So that again?
Which page do you get?
Sorry, your voice is coming off, cut off. It's not coming properly. Can you repeat that thing?
Which page do you get this? You said some pages.
Oh, which page? If you look into the PDF that Herschel sent you regarding the business problems,
Mhm. Oh, thank you.
then third page on that one. It's a page number 3. You can see it here. Okay. So the key point is you should get the URL from your development team that this is the URL you're going to test it for. Okay. Looks like Herschel might end up changing the URL. So he will give you like it's a URL, but you don't need to log in into the system right now because all you're doing is designing the test. Okay. So what should be the expected result? If you put the URL in the browser and hit enter, right? Your expectation is you will go to the page which pops up a home page with a login window or login form, right? So you should just document that. For step 1, the expected result is login form is displayed in the good so far? So now you know, hey, I need to take one step. This is what that. The key thing is whatever the step you write it has to perform some action, right? So in this case, I entered the data. and I hit enter, so that's when the action happens, right? And then that's what the result comes. So what will be the next step? What do you do next?
The site administrator, we have to select a section. There will be different sections to
Why would there be a different section? When you go to any application, right? Does it say, hey, select a choice of what type of login you want?
yeah, like, so into the annuity, I have to learn the annuity, annuity partner.
Mhm.
So they ask me to choose if you find a resident, if I know.
But it's still a category, right? So think about it, when you go to Amazon retailing, do you select anything other than the user ID password? Right? It doesn't matter whether you're a seller or you're a prime customer or you're a regular customer or you're a inventory manager, right? It just prompts you a user ID. And based on user ID, it figures out what credentials and what type of user you are, right? That's how most of things happen. What you're talking about is sometimes depending on the user segment, right? They may call it, but in those cases, it's a completely different system, right? So if you're residential, it's a different system. If you're a commercial provider, then it's a different system, right? In those cases, those pages are just providing a front to direct it. But when you click on that type of customer, till then you don't see a login page, right? You see login page only after you select the customer type. So in this case, if you read the requirement in the initial page layout, it's just directly login page is going to be displayed. Okay. So what steps you would do next? Susie, you were mentioning around something about user ID and password. You enter the user ID. Okay. Is that the only thing you do it? Do you do enter the password also? So now, so you enter user ID and password, then what do you do? Right, so you have to do that action, right? So the action is just not by entering the data, it's not going to work. You have to perform some action. So I'm going to click on the login button, whatever that is present. What should be the expected result when I do that? Okay. Now, but
Better
how do I
page.
log in? So you, your account? You had something online? You think something?
You're able to get the page.
So what you should see is the first thing. Right. So I know if you look into the page flow diagram into the system design document, right? It says that, hey, once you log in, each one has a separate home page, right? So if I log in as administrator, I know I'm gonna have a different homepage than if somebody logs in as a dealer. So the only way I can verify that it worked is not only I'm just logged in successfully, but the homepage for a super user or site administrator is displayed in the screen, right? Let's just use the same consistent wording. Okay. So in order to do this, I mentioned few things that's going to present in the data field, right? So I need to go make sure those things is present. And so there is a user ID, and then there is a password. So typically you get this information. Both on the same page so you can see it. So typically you get this pieces of data or information. From your user or from your development team or whoever is going to log it. So site administrator pass user ID is going to be S trainee. So I'll just specify that here. I'm going to look into the password is trainee. And go ahead and add that. Okay. What is the next step? Do I need to do anything or I'm done with this one? Remember, what was the goal? So the goal is only this month. Did I accomplish it? When I log in, I successfully logged into the system, right? So I'm done with what I was trying to test it. I'm successfully validated that, hey, if you have a good user ID and a password, you can log into the system. That's all I was looking for, right? So that's what I was trying to do here also. Hey, based on valid user ID, I could successfully log in. So now let's look. So I don't need to do any more steps. I'm done with my steps. I'm done with the expected results for each one of them. Okay. So I'm going to look into now. I don't need to provide any more data because I already have saved everything that I needed. So now what will be the post condition? What is true in the system now? The site administrator is logged into the system. And that's the true state of the system right now. So you can just say,
So our limit is to like, maintain it actually did that because this is the expected result. We don't know.
yeah, so I'm not doing anything around actual results, right? Just look into it, the column is empty. But I have to write what is expected. Otherwise, when I run it, when I get the result, well, did it meet my expectation or not? How do I know whether what should I expect it? Then laying it out, everything is what should I expect it?
So the post condition is also the expected post
Yes,
condition.
it is the expected post condition. Right. Remember, this is all the data you provided. Even the precondition is expected, right? Because right now there is no system. I'm just assuming that, hey, this must be true before I can run this. Because if this is not true, no matter whether I try to do this or not, it's always going to fail. Because there is no user ID and a password in the system that matches this thing that I'm on. Right? So this is the design time of your testing. You're not executing it. But if you go back into If you go back here, right, to recall it, I have requirement, acceptance criteria, and then I'm doing the design. So I'm at this phase because the requirement was the top thing, right? Site events should be able to log in. And the acceptance criteria, I defined there are 4 different scenarios and acceptance criteria for each one of them. Right? So when I did this thing, this is my acceptance criteria for each one of the scenarios. This is my requirement. Okay, now I'm taking it a step and say, okay, what should be my detail design? So this is the detailed design. Okay. So in this one, I'll say, hey, this thing is planned at this one. Because if nobody has executed, I just planned it, I finished the design of this thing. Okay. So when I do that thing, now this one is complete. So whenever the system is available, I can pull up this thing and run it. Do this thing. Right? So I'll just go ahead and say this. I'll say 2 or 5 administrators. If I save this one now it's done. I'm done with the first step. So I remove that step. Okay. Then I'll follow the same aspect to write a test case for this thing. For a B, C, and D. The total I'll write the 4 test cases, like 4 files. Okay. So that's the process. But if you get a requirement, you break it down first and what are the different scenarios, and then you talk about this is the first scenario, how I'm going to test it. You're with me so far? Okay. So let's go into my PDF document. So Herschel, which requirements you're going to pick it up? Let's go pick a requirement. Okay, you want to go with dealer first? All right. So you want to go with the first one? Okay. So what I'm going to do. All right. So this is my okay, so this is my requirement. The dealer must be able to search existing dealer by dealer name, address, etc. Right. So let's talk through it. What are the different scenarios that you think that this one is going to have? No, that's a precondition, right? What I'm just saying, if I have to test this requirement, what are the different possibilities for different cases that I need to test this? Just like when I was doing this thing, super user login, I identified there are 4 different things that I need to test it. So if I have to test this requirement, let's list it out. What are the different test cases that I need to write into testing? Okay. Again, who is going to do this work? Is the dealer going to do that? Somebody is searching for dealer. So it can, if I'm the dealer, I'm not going to search for myself. I know who I am, right? So somebody else is doing what? Which users can do it? Which customer?
Agent,
Agent.
site administrator, regional manager, anyone you can say.
Where would I find that information?
Okay?
Where would I find who are those users who can perform this operation? Tell me here. Tell me which page. So if you look into it, right? Okay. So which function this is going to fall under? Right? Where did I locate it? So if you look into, hang on, I did the part of the managing dealership, right? Well, let's look at it. Who all can manage the dealership? So there is super user is one. There are rep, area manager, and regional manager. So as long as I have a credential of any one of those four types of the user, I should be able to do that. Right? So the first important fact is what all users are going to have. Right? So you can just say, hey, I can do login as a super user or house rep or area manager or regional manager. Okay, so these are four, right? But what if I put a precondition that I'm logged in into the system and I have access to the dealer? If that is the precondition that I put it into that, do I need to worry about any of this? I don't, right? So think about it. What are the things I need to actually test in order to say that, hey, is the user able to search an existing dealer? Or what are the scenarios? So let me ask questions first. Maybe that's where we should have started. Okay. I'm going to put it in copy that. This is the precondition that we talked about, right? But when you look at this, is this requirement meet 3C and a precondition? Let's start with that. What is 3C? You want to tell me? Okay. So let's say, is this correct? Is the dealer search belongs into our loan system? It's correct, right? Is it consistent? Probably yes, right? Because I went in to look into it, who all should be able to do that. Third one is it complete? Do you have all the information needed in order to perform this function? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So, what does ETC mean? That's something else. Well, So is it complete?
No.
So what is that something? Phone number, well, dealer is gonna have social security. I'm doing stock and dealer shop.
Franchising,
Princess ID and that. Where did you get all those requirements? That, hey, princess ID, phone number. Where did you get that? Or did you make it up? Who is gonna provide it? Is the dealer shop is gonna provide that? This is the risk system requirement, right?
so it's not like agent who is going to sign up the dealer at the time, while signing up the dealer.
Okay, you're still mixing two things. What you're mixing it is who is going to collect the information about the dealer? I'm not asking that. I'm saying that some of you said that, hey, I'm going to be able to search, etc. means I can do it by phone number, I can do it by franchise ID. Well, who gave you that requirement that, hey, you can do it search by phone number also, you can do it by that? Or you just made it up? Business people gave me this one. Where did you see it in the document that here, dealer can be searched by other criteria that here just mentioned? Is it present in the document? Where is it present? But that's the data about the dealer. Now separate the data from the requirement. Has anybody told you that you should be able to search dealer by phone number? Where is that requirement that says that, hey, the user must be able to search existing dealer by phone number? Is it anywhere in the document? Or do you guys just think that it will be useful to have? And that's why you took the EPC and then converted into those things. If the requirement is not complete, where do you go to find information? If it's not anywhere else, where did you go to find that information? You go back to the business team, right? First rule for a quality assurance person. And this is something that you need to take it with you when you go into the job. You never make up your own requirements. When you say that, hey, etc. means franchise number or phone number, all you did is you just made up your own requirement. You don't know whether your business user wants that search or not. Right? So you always go back to the business user and say, hey, this is not complete. Tell me what you meant by that. Okay, so we'll do some role play. We're going to make Herschel as a business user. Herschel, you say that user must be able to search existing dealer by dealer name, address, etc. What do you mean by etc.? What other things you have in mind when you say etc.?
But I think it's the way hopefully is working the dealer. Address, well, etc. All will not add much, but I will break down and stick address or zip code. That will be more helpful.
Okay, so you say addresses.
And corporation is a franchise. Because that's something that is within the franchise.
Okay,
That will be unique to it.
so you're saying three criteria, right? You want to be able to search by dealer name.
Yeah.
You want to be able to search by address and then franchise number.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you have this information, is your requirement complete now? What is missing? No, but he said that take it out this, replace it with this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the etc. Right? I'm just going to put whatever he said. Right? See, address, zip code. And so that's what he said it to me. This is what I heard it from him. Have you guys heard the same thing? Okay. So now is this requirement complete? Yes? No? Okay. Everybody online, do you feel now requirement is complete?
I have a question. So when you search the dealer name, like do we have to search it by dealer name and address or address?
Good. Right. So I don't know because the requirement doesn't tell me. So Herschel, for searching, do they have to provide all the three criteria? Or only one of them? Or one or more?
Yeah, you can search, see the franchise number, it's gonna be unique. So as long as they supply the franchise number, you should be able to pull up. But other ones are like dealer name, address, this sort of thing on the way. So they supply the dealer name, they supply dealer name or address, so then we should search by both. So it's not a move at the end, both have to be there. It's just a- Yeah.
So as long as they provide one of the criteria,
One of the criteria is-
you should be able to search. Okay. What if they provide two criteria?
Yeah, that's where.
Or you are not going to allow them to enter two criteria?
We can speak with one criteria.
So one criteria only. Okay. Good.
But what it is, let's say that they enter, dealer name, right? Because we don't know, I mean, whether we have a dealer name or address, or something like that. So it could find the map for dealer name or address.
So now you're saying that you should be able to enter more than one information. Right, so that's
or anything.
they could provide any one of them, or what he's saying is they could provide more than one field. What happens if it's more than one field? Then you find all those who matches at least one of the criteria,
So
right?
if these two correct, maybe we might, I can maybe see. Because I don't know whether it falls under address or zip code or whatever. It needs to go and we can result for dealer name, address, all the normal, so we can do the thing.
All right. So Purangi, does that help you?
Yeah.
Very- Okay. Any other questions? Do you feel now that he has provided all this information, right? So these are the three criteria. We already updated the requirement with that. Right. So this is the other sets of information that he says. This is that. So with the combination of all these things, do you feel it's now complete?
So, like, so is it should be mentioned in the requirement, like, if they're supposed to give one such criteria? One,
It's
one
not.
field or two fields?
Right, if it's not, right, he said that, hey, I should be able to search by the three things, right? So you need to know whether, hey, as a user, should I be providing all these three things or any one of them, right? So you're trying to understand what is the behavior of the system needs to be. Just by reading this sentence, you don't know, right? And what is the first rule I say? Don't make up your requirement. Right. So if I just give it, all of us could interpret differently, right? So your purpose is to make sure you eliminate all ambiguity. That means if there is an ambiguity, it is not complete requirement. Right? So you're asking the question so that you get the clarity. And my question to all of you is that with this clarity, do you feel this is complete requirement? No? What is missing? Ask him a question. He's a business user.
So I'm not still clear, like, while designing, are they supposed to
Forget
provide?
design. You're a quality assurance person. You don't care for design.
Okay,
All you care is how the system is going to behave. Leave the design problems to the development team.
so from the common documented design documented, like they're going to.
That's an additional information. But you are never writing design documents, right? It's a development team. Right? How they are implementing it, you don't care when you're doing a black box testing. Right? So for a moment, I want you to think it from a black box testing point of view. Do you feel the requirement is complete for you to do your black box testing?
I think so because it specifies enough that whatever you need is there.
So you feel it's good enough, right? Anybody else thinks it's still missing something? Which one is talking about? The franchise number? Well, anybody wants to answer this question? Right. So there is a specific requirement which talks about how the franchise number is generated. Okay, so that's what is expected is to put whatever that franchise number is. That's what you need to say. Entering that information. Anything else? You guys feel it's complete or not? So here 2 yeses, one in the class, one in there. But others are still thinking. What are you thinking? Why you're hesitant?
Right now in this case, you already think, like, what is the tool, like, has the wrong information, they will see this, or is that in the next?
So tell me more about it when you say field has a wrong information. So you go to the Google to do the search, right? How does the Google know it's the right field or wrong field? It doesn't, right? It tries to find whatever you put it in. And if you put something and there's no result, what do you expect? Right? This is search, right? If I put a wrong dealer name and there is no dealer exists in the system with that, what should I expect? No result, right? Because he made it very clear that, hey, whatever criteria you put it, as long as it matches one of this, will bring it up.
Like, if we're going to enter only address to, like, zip code, so there may be more than one dealer.
Yeah, if there is more than one dealer, then you display a list, right? When you go to Google, if your return result matches a whole bunch of things, you see all of them, one after another one, right? That's what they say. They're expecting to do the search. Right, or existing dealer. If there are more than one dealer which matches that criteria, I'm expecting it to display all of them.
But in this requirement, we didn't say, so are we expecting only one result or more than that? Because with the franchise number, it should be only one dealer, and it's only supposed to be more, there may be more. than
Right,
one.
but remember what he said. Bring everything that matches that criteria.
Okay.
Right, that's why you have to listen when you do the thing. That's what I exactly heard it. Didn't you say the same thing, Herschel? Bring everything that matches that criteria. So if it matches only one, you bring one. If there is no match, you don't bring any result. And if there is more than one match, then you bring all of them. Given that, you guys feel it's complete. Because unless you feel it's complete, there's no point in going and exercise, hey, what are the different cases? You feel it's complete? All right,
Can I do something?
sure.
So if I enter ABC, to match whatever is made, somebody can change ABC.
Hang on to that. I'm not done with that yet. Do you feel it's complete, right? So now what Herschel is pointing it out is, well, I'm providing you some criteria. Let's say I provided something in the design. Are you expecting in the search result that you're going to bring it? Are you going to bring something that starts with that, or it contains it, or it's an example? What exactly you're expecting? So let me give an example. Okay. Let's say if my dealer name is German Honda. There is a Marisol Honda. There's a whole bunch of things that's in there. And I said, search Honda. None of them start with the name Honda. Should I bring anything back?
All the details that came into because it's see whatever.
That's the assumption you made. It show me where it says that the detail is contained versus start with. You understand the difference between each one of them, right? If somebody provides you criteria, are you looking for that criteria matches anywhere, or are you looking for a dealer which starts with that name? Right? So it's not specified. So I don't know. So I go back to the business user and say, hey, Herschel, when you say it's searched by a dealer name and then you could provide as long as it matches. But your expectation is when it matches it, if the name should start or the criteria should be at the beginning of that search result, or that should be anywhere in that string.
Indeed.
Okay.
As long as it's-
Okay. So I'm looking for contained. Okay. So now it says, hey, if it's Honda, as long as there is somewhere in the name Honda, you bring it. If the street is, let's say, Main Street, any dealership which is located in address with Main Street matching should bring it. It could be across different towns. Right. Franchise number is much more easier, right? Because it's always going to be unique. So if I put a franchise number, now what if Herschel, can I put a partial franchise number? Or partial data for that, or I should always put the complete franchise number.
because it's very easy to complete the contact number, it is partial or
Right, it will match, but there could be more than one match, right?
we did fine.
Okay, so you want to allow a partial franchise number.
Let me take it back because partial franchise number is different to the main.
Mhm.
They might have a definition.
Okay.
So I think let's do the exact franchise number.
And then you also mentioned that for search criteria for search by address, you need to provide street address and a zip code. Are you expecting to provide both, or similar to all the other criteria, you should either be able to provide just the street address or the zip code, or both? Okay. So you don't require both. All right. So I'm capturing the notes as he's talking about, so that I have a better understanding of what should be expected results, or what can I do and what cannot I do. Right? So now, if you think about it, right, it was a requirement that for ETC generated so much conversation. You have now better understanding of what you want. Now, you feel with all the things you have the complete picture. Yes, no? Okay. Anybody has any questions, or are we good? And very silent. I don't know how to interpret the silence. You have questions, or you're good with that?
So I have a question, like when a business analyst says that we need exact franchise number. So can we suggest them that if we do partial franchise number and just say OH, like Ohio, then that will be more option of the dealers than providing the exact franchise number. Can we suggest that, or it's,
Yes,
yeah.
I understand what you're saying. But what he clearly said, initially he was thinking of partial, but then he backtracked and said, no, I don't want the partial because I don't want to get a lot of results. All I want is specific results.
Okay.
Now, if you want to search a bigger set, then potentially he will not provide a franchise number. He will just put the name or zip code or address, and that is going to give him bigger data.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
So in this case, in the franchise number, he's saying, I know exactly what it is. I'm not able to find in the system, so let me flag it and I can clearly see if it's there or not. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Is everybody in agreement or not?
I have a question. I think this requirement is still incomplete.
Why?
Because in the requirement it says we must be able to search this dealer by name, address, or franchise number. So this requirement doesn't say if the user wants to search only, but what should be like his intention? He wants to search only one or multiple. Like if we are entering just the name, like Honda, so there are several Hondas with this, not within Ohio, maybe other after that. So what? So if we just want to see all the dealers within Ohio, so how he is going to?
You probably use street address or zip code. He is not saying that these are the only two criteria that you want to search.
No, it says that only searching by the name.
Yeah, you could still search by Honda. Could we get anywhere, any Honda dealer?
Okay.
That's what we
No,
say.
if he wants to search within Ohio, all the dealers within Ohio, so he's searching only by the name.
Again, you're coming back and saying, hey, I'm going to define requirements for business users. Business user never has said that, hey, I want to search dealer only within a geographical area. All he says, I want to search it either by name, or if I put a zip code, I'm narrowing it down to geographical area. I don't know whether he wants by state. He could be wanted by region, right? I don't know. But he is saying that this is his requirement. One rule of thumb is you don't try to expand the universe just because you think it would be nice to have. Who is paying for it? He's paying, right? So think of this way. When I go to build a house, right? I tell the builder, hey, I want it like 4-bedroom house. The dealer doesn't come and say, you know what? It would be nice for you to have 10-bedroom house. Let's go build a 10-bedroom house. What do you do in this? Will you stick with that dealer or you just walk around? It's nice knowing you. Let me go to somebody else who is going to listen what I want. Right? So that's an important criteria that you need to follow. Don't make up your own requirements. Make sure you understand what your user wants. Because your job is to, if it becomes a complete requirement, you don't keep expanding universe. Do you understand what you want or not? And can you test it or not? That should be your focus. Because you don't know what are the other implications. You don't understand the whole business aspect, right? So you're looking at from the context or lens of this report. Now you can certainly have a discussion. Hey, what do you mean by this? Can you walk me through scenarios? What you will do it when you search this, or what do you do after that? Right? You can have that understanding to see, hey, how is the overall flow is going to work. All here you say is, hey, I should be able to search the dealer because, hey, I don't know the exact dealer. I want to be able to go find all our matches criteria and I'll select. Does it make sense? What I'm saying? Okay.
There might be, but what if there are no actual, no, actually, that.
Again, this is not the whole universe. This is only those which are present in the system. Right? When it says existing dealer by that. Remember, where are you going to perform the search? You're performing the search within the system. You're not doing it at Google search, right? If I wanted, like, hey, who all are present, whether in our system or outside system, that's a different question. Here, the context is within the system. Right. Only those dealers which are present in the outbound system are the only ones that I'm going to say. Okay. Is
Yeah,
that clear
hi.
with that?
Hi, I have a question. Yeah, so if you're saying that we are looking the information in the system, then isn't it like we should have particular customer number that we can reach out directly what dealer we are looking for? So it should have particular specific number, like as say you can set customer number or dealer number in the
Again,
system.
how many times you remember if there are customer number or dealer number, right? Isn't that same thing as a, or do you have something else in your mind? You have the requirements document. Just tell me, where did you see customer number?
I think we can ask to business team for that.
Give me a context of what you're looking for. So when you say a customer number, help me understand what is and how that is going to be different than franchise number.
Don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, right? You just don't
Yeah.
throw it to the business users,
Yeah.
right? You have to be very specific so that you get clarity in terms of the requirement. Right? So you may be thinking, hey, customer number is unique to all the dealers. Well, yeah, the franchise number is unique to all the dealers. And he already gave you a formula of how to build that uniqueness in the franchise number. Right?
Okay. Yep.
So
That's true.
again, anything else that you might ask you that's redundant. So that's why it's an important first thing is you process what you have. Okay. Then you build your question based on that processed information. And then you say it's head back. Now, if you would not have said franchise number, then your question would have been good, right? Because what if you already know what the number is?
Yeah.
However, the system generated IDs are not very easy to remember. I could remember if it's only a small set, like 5 or 10 people, the number. If there are 5,000 dealers in the system, not going to be easy to remember each and every one, unless you know where they're located. And that's why if you look at a franchise number, it is kind of dealt with the state, county, and then the number. Then it's much more easier if I know, hey, that dealer is located in Ohio, then I already start narrowing it down.
Yep.
And if I don't remember that number, then there needs to be an alternate means. That's why he said that you can do it by name or by state address or a zip code.
Okay. Yeah.
So are you guys good so far in terms of understanding this? Do you feel it's complete? Or do you still feel it's missing something that you need to add? The whole goal is, can you test it now? Can you test it, all right? Without ambiguity. Okay. So if somebody provides a dealer name, you know, hey, even if it's a partial name, we said that it needs to be contained information. So you can search it. If you provide the street address, that will be contained, so I can do that. Franchise number, he said it very clearly, it has to be complete and exact. If not, then you don't return any result. Okay. Partial address and the dealer name is allowed, right? And then the other question we had it is, hey, what is the relationship between the 4 fields that you have it? And he said it could be or. Right? And then you also ask him a question, hey, what if they provide 2 fields? And he said they provide the information about 2 fields, you bring it whichever one. Okay, are you guys good with that so far?
So, like, if they provide in the person's name and the partial franchise number.
Again, he's saying that anything which is partial franchise number, you don't accept it. It's not permitted. Right? So the one way you can do it is you put the logic within when they are entering information that if they enter partial, you reject it. Remember how you fill the form? And if you don't provide them exact information for social security number or phone number, it rejects it, says, hey, provide only this one. You can apply that logic, right? All you're saying is that you don't know how that will be implemented in the back end. All it just says that if anything which is partial entry, he clearly said, don't allow it. So I'm gonna just reject it. Okay. Does that answer your question? You're just doing the first thing.
And we go back to the
Yeah, so
verify all this before we start writing out.
yeah, you have to have a good understanding of what it is, right? So remember what the first thing we asked you Thursday is, read the document, flag anything that you don't feel is complete, correct, or consistent. Right? Flag anything that you don't feel is contested. This is one of those that you should have flagged that you said, hey, you know what, I don't understand. Because you put ETC, what does it, what do you mean by ETC? Right? And all the questions that we are asking you should be, right? You don't go for every requirement, ask one at a time. You flag, you read the requirements document, you flag each one, so say, let's, I have a question around 5 requirements, let's just go through each one at a time. Right? You get that understanding in one sitting, you don't go back and forth constantly. You can, right? But that's not going to be efficient for you or business users. Business users at some point are going to get irritated. And you can't make up your mind what all questions you want to ask at once, right? That you're asking, because a lot of times your business users are not just sitting idle and free. They're doing a lot of other business related process working methods. So the more effective and organized you are, the more effective will be your conversation. Okay. But yes, you will list it out everything, all the requirements. We are still on the first one. But if you identify all the other ones, flag one, you should have that discussion in the same sitting. Yes. Yes. Where are we? Where are you? Sorry, I'm gonna fly. Tell me which document and which page. You're talking about here? But that's what we started with. It. Sorry, I'm lost. When you say phone number, there is no requirement that allows that makes you to search by phone number, right? He is a user, so he said that all I want to do is search by this. Yeah, I'll say about 1-1. So even from 1-1, user must be able to system use the name, address, even if people didn't know something different. You know, the already has a phone number. It's uniform and even if system. There could be more than one phone number. But there's no message, no zero stuff to phone number. Again, remember what you're doing is you're trying to add a requirement. Right? What I'm just saying is that I started with this particular description and I didn't want to assume what et cetera means. Is it a phone number or not? That's why I went back to these and said, tell me what you want. And he clearly said that I want only 3 things. I want an address, I want name, and I want franchise number. I don't want anything else. Right? So you don't go and say, hey, yeah, but the phone number is unique, so you should add that. That is, you're adding a requirement that he doesn't want it in the system. It's like a status, like it's, hey, I'm gonna go and build a house. I don't want an additional ground floor or basement. But as a contractor, he says, oh, it's good for you, you should get it. Right? It kind of becomes annoying, right? Why are you forcing something on me that I don't want it? Right? And that's why you want to ask him, right? But when he said etc., you have no idea what he wanted. That's why you went and asked him, tell me what do you mean by etc. Right? So once he specified all these things, right? You don't want to keep adding, hey, but it's nice for you to have a phone number. You're not there to do the sales job. You're there to understand what he wants. Right? So that's what you're doing. You're taking that requirement that was ambiguity over there, you're eliminating that. And sometimes you will be surprised how many times your business user will say it's completely different than what you understood by reading it first. You may think it's a nice to do this thing, but they already have a different idea in the mind. And they will tell you when you start having a conversation. But you know what? Yeah, it's good, but I don't want that. Right? So that's when we'll be asking, hey, tell me what etc. means. One of the other things you will learn it as you go through it is you don't ask the question in a way that it biases the view. If you look at it, right? I didn't ask thresholds in your day. What does etc. mean? That's all I asked. I didn't say, is this some phone number, this or that? Right? Because when I add those things, I'm now biasing his view. I want to know what he wants, not what I think he wants. Right? So that's why when you do a question, do an open-ended question. Well, what do you mean by it? And he will tell whatever it was in his mind when he wrote the. If you look at it, like, all I'm trying to do is I never give him an example. If you mean this or you mean that, right? I say, what do you mean by this? When you say contain, so then I say clarity. Well, in my mind, contain means this. Is that what you have? And you say yes. So that's when we say, hey, should I either start with it or anywhere in between? Okay. So as you go through it, you will pick up those techniques in terms of questioning it and making sure that you still stay within the domain or within the scope in which you want. Just think about it, right? We just kind of one sentence. We spent what, about 40 minutes clarifying what does it mean. It's an important when you read the requirements document. Figure it out. Is this thing clear to you? If not, what is unclear? You listed out the question. Well, I don't know what you mean by etc. Well, I also see there's more than one criteria for the search. How do you want, is it combination, is it either or? And can I do a partial, right? So you list out all those things, questions, so that when you meet with them, it's a really quick conversation. And then you can just take my, oh yeah, he wants this, he wants this, he wants that. Okay? We good? All right. Now let's talk about, if this is the case, what are the different scenarios I need to test it in order to validate that this requirement is implemented properly? In the login world, we said that, hey, there are 4 different cases that I need to test it to make sure it's implemented correctly. How many in here?
Hi, I have a question. Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question. If you
Yes, go
enter partial address and partial dealer name, you get more results, not the specific results, right?
Yeah. So there are scenarios in here where you will get more than one result.
Yeah.
So you have a
So
scenario
how
where
do you find the specific?
you're not looking for specific, right? When there are things that matches more than one dealer, you're going to display all of them and let the user choose which one you want. Right? When you go to Google and you just search it, something like quality assurance, you may get 500 results. Right? And then it's up to you to select, hey, which one you want to look at further. The same scenario, right? There may be multiple dealers that matches that criteria, and then it's up to user, hey, out of all those 10 dealers which match that same criteria, which one they want to further research. Okay?
Okay, okay.
What I'm gonna do, actually, and easier for me to do. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you the technique that normally you will hear people as just talk about the scenario tree, right? So this was my login, right? And then I had so if you think about it, right? this is the realistic thing. If I had to convert this thing that I had it into visual, I would do something like this, right? My login is kind of converted into portion.
Can there be one more scenario, the user enter the value ID or forget to put the password and hit the login?
Yeah, but is it any different than invalid password? If I don't provide any password, still invalid password. To provide valid ID, whether I enter the data or not, at that point, that combination is not that, right? So now let's look at the dealer search, right? So I'm gonna have dealer search. So now this is what you're trying to do. So let's talk about how many different scenarios you're gonna have. Right? Don't know how many other ones. So you tell me, and we'll start populating, and as needed, we'll add there. So now that I have this requirement, and here is the additional supporting information for that requirement. What are the different test cases? So I can definitely say, hey, dealer search, you can do it one way, you do it by one field only, right? So in this case, could have one criteria, but that could further break it down into potentially three criteria, right? The first criteria is dealer name, right? Second criteria is address. And third criteria is franchise number. The address itself, we could break it down into three. So that's all the two names. And provide the two, or I should provide both, right? It's good so far. So I can provide one criteria. Or I could provide two criteria. But I can provide all three criteria. Right? In the franchise number, I'm going to have two possibilities. complete franchise number. Or I can try to put incomplete. And he said that like if it's incomplete, reject it, saying that you must provide that. Right? But I need to test it to make sure. Hey, am I forced to provide the entire data or not? Okay. So these are for one criteria. Do you have any other condition that you need to do for one criteria? If not, yes. Which one? So all you just say is street address, right? You say what is their street number and the address. Only when I look at it, right, the data, the street address is only Main Street. It's not 123 Main Street. Right? That's a number on that street. He didn't say that there's a requirement. All he wants is street name and a zip code. Right? He didn't even say a city name. All he cares is street address and a zip code to search for. It's a good point. So let's say if I search by Honda, is my search is going to be different than if I search by German Honda. Because all I'm doing is contains relationship. Wherever that string matches, whether it was full name or partial name, I don't care, right? String matches, I get the result. So will it make a difference if I provide complete name or partial name?
If it doesn't match, I need the thing.
If it doesn't match, it's no different than I enter a franchise number and there's no such franchise number. I still get no result, right? So to talk to your point, right? So if I do it, let's say a Honda, it will return me more results, right? Anything that matches it. Or if I just say, hey, to domain of Honda as a job, right? If I input this thing, it's still going to find whatever matches this thing. The result is only one thing. But when I'm trying to put the actual testing, for me, this or this doesn't matter because I don't know if this was a full name or not. Right? It could be full name. It could be a dealer with just Honda. Right? Or if I put the whole thing, there is more than one German dealer. There could be one here and the other could be in Dublin, Ireland. I don't know. Right? So it doesn't matter whether it's partial or not, since it's a contained relationship. Now, it could be exact or start with it, then I agree. Then I have to worry about it. It's enough. But since it's contained, I don't have to worry about it. Okay. All I'm going to look for is, hey, tell me whatever matches this string. That's all I care. And this matches, both are matches in this match. But if I say search me on this string, it's not going to match this one because it's looking for everything that contains this. Any other scenario that you needed on a one criteria? Okay. So you will do that next step, you will do two criteria, right? And then say, hey, what are the two criteria? It could be street address and a zip code, or it could be dealer name and a street address, or it could be dealer name and franchise, right? So you put those combinations as the error here. You start drilling it more down on that. What it means is that when you keep doing this kind of thing, this is called building a tree for particular scenarios. Now, think about how many test cases you need to do, right? If you were just doing it one criteria, anything which is known as the lead, that means there's no more error going down from that, called a loop. Those are your test scenarios. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. Okay. You may have some similar for 2 criteria. So you had 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Those kinds. So those are the test, that many test cases you need to test it in order to validate that the requirement is fulfilled.
Test scenario and test cases, are they the same?
So this is dealer search is one. One scenario is one criteria. That involves many test cases. Right? So think about scenarios one level higher. Okay. 2 criteria scenario. Well, how many test cases underneath? So, but again, you're not writing the scenario when you write this kind of thing, right? You're writing for every test case, not for the scenario. So that's why your goal is to come to how many test cases I need and what it will be. Okay.
The scenario could be dealer search, which is one criteria. Scenario 2 could be dealer search with 2 criteria or more than.
Yeah.
And then we will count.
That's further into it.
Those are high level scenarios, but the test cases.
So under one criteria, so we can say that we have 6 test cases.
Right. But then you still have to finish 2 criteria, the same thing. Just follow the same process that we talked about, right? List it out the 2 criteria. And do the same thing, follow, say for 3 criteria. What if they provide 3 criteria, right? Then in those scenarios, you know that, hey, everything is provided. A dealer name is provided, street address is provided with zip code and ID, street name, and the franchise, right? And all you have to do is, as long as it meets any one of those criteria, you're going to bring the result. So you're going to find for each one of them, and then add to the total, and then display the total. Okay? You have to, right? Because you're trying to validate the test, right? Now think about how many, what are combinations? There's 3 values, right? And you're finding the combination of 2. So it'll be one combination will be dealer name and a zip code, or dealer name and address, right? Other criteria will be dealer name and franchise. And third one will be franchise and address. Only like 3 possibilities, right? Now, so that becomes this layer. Now, then you have to say, is there any further breakdown of those combinations? If it is, then you add it. If not, then that's 3, and then you move on to the.
The last, there of the arrows, that will be the number of tests.
Precisely. Those are the least of the test cases. Okay. Everybody good so far?
I have a question, like, we are doing, SQA is doing all this work, then there is no application. We just plan. So what's the purpose of doing this? Like, we are considering if there may be 1, there may be 2, 3. It's just an assumption. So when we.
No, it's not assumption. That is the requirement. Right? My business user clearly told me that I should be able to search on this, this, and this. And when there are more than one, here are the rules that you need to follow to get the result.
You mean to say, so on the website, there will be a 3 blocks.
Yeah, there could be that, right? The expectation I have it is not necessarily how they provide many blocks, right? I don't care how they will provide theirs, right? All I care at this point is in a website, when there's click on search functionality, I have ability to enter this 3 sets of information. How they do that, that I'm not sure yet, right? Once they build a system and give me access to that, I may refine my step-by-step instruction. But the criteria is still going to remain the same, right? If you put a layout which allows me to enter only one thing at a time, right? That I don't care, but he said that, hey, you know what? I want to have an ability to enter all 3 pieces of data. Now, how I'm entering, that's a different aspect. but I should be able to enter all those. So if system forces me to enter only one and doesn't allow me to enter anymore, then there is a defect, because the requirement clearly says that I should be able to do this. Okay? So you're writing this, you're building this scenario based on understanding of how you're going to validate the requirement, not necessarily how it's implemented. That's why it's a more black box system, right? Then you are going further and writing the instructions that you anticipate that it should be done this way. Now, once they give you the system, it may be tweaked a little bit different, right? It may not be a login button, it could be a login link. That's fine. I'll go ahead and update my wording to reflect what's in the system. But underline, can I do this capability in the system or not? That's what the goal is, right? For a keyword, to validate, can I have that ability in the system? So that's why you can do this without worrying about what it will be implemented, because you have the basis of requirements. Okay. So the first step in any requirements that you give it, you have to look at it. Does it meet 3C or 3CNC or not? Once it does it, then you lay it out how I'm going to test it. And once you lay it out all those things, then you take a lead and write a detailed test case, step-by-step instruction. I'm going to do that. Good so far with that 3-step process? Okay, so I think let's take a quick 5-minute break. And then I'm going to have you guys take a requirement and apply this thing to come up with a piece scenario. Yes? Yes? All right, so let's take a 5-minute break. 10:42, let's go till 10:47, 10:48, and we'll restart it. Okay. All right. So let's start. So what I want you to do is, you understood the process that I went through it and defining the lease, right? Defining the fee. I'm going to give you two requirements, which is the two highlighted on the screen here. So So what we're gonna do is follow the same process, but you're gonna do it yourself this time. I'm gonna give you two requirements, and I want you to draw on a piece of paper trees like this, and come up with how many test cases you think you will need it in order to test that requirement. Okay, so the requirements that I want you to focus on is in section 262. So for those who are looking online, it's on page 24. And requirement 2.1 and 2.9. So the two requirement I want you to build a tree for it is username is auto-generated based on last name and first name. And then password must be 8 characters and requires at least one uppercase and a special character. I want you to do those two requirements and identify how many test cases you need to write for that. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys about 10 minutes to think for each one of them and do it. So it's about 10:50. I want you to keep drawing till 11:10. And then we will share it to see what you come up with. Okay? So go ahead and draw it. How shall I pass for those who are online here, piece of paper? For those at home, you can actually draw it on a piece of paper and take a picture and send it to us, and then we can just review that. Or you can share it, like it will give you access to the screen share on the Zoom, and you can share it with the rest of the class. Okay, so take 20 minutes and draw scenario tree for each one of them.
Is anyone is okay? Or
Say that again.
is anyone is okay or the specific one 2.4?
No,
Which one?
you need one. You do 2.1 and the 2.9. You need to do both of scenarios.
Okay.
Both the scenario for both the requirements.
Okay.
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 So it's on the screen share that I'm sharing it. So you can see it for those two.
So like, for this requirement, clear like, but because some states, it's ordinary, like,
Yeah, it is already related and give this rule here. Now something is not clear, suddenly you can ask the question to clarify. But speak it to spend some time and we'll work through it here, okay?
Could you keep the diagram up that you had originally put up for our reference?
You want this diagram or this diagram?
Whichever, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Or a lot of times it's the first letter of the first name. So if it's not Smith, it will be B. No, I'm telling you, there's a teacher, I'm telling you that's the form. It's the first character of first name. And then the last name. So for Q.1, the formula to continue with is the first character of first name, and then continued by the last name. So it is a Bob Smith, Bob is the first name, Mrs. Larson, D. Smith is the leader.
so does it matter the legal name, the first and the particular name?
This is not case sensitive. There is a conflict, or the user already there, then you add a number. Username to set up the bootcamp one. Equal 2.9, password one. Yep. 2.1 and 2.9. Whatever the problem. Are you all ready or you need 5 more minutes? to complete it? Right? Need more time or you want to review?
No,
the other
I
things?
don't know what to do.
How about online? Are you guys ready? You get ready online?
We can start, but I don't know. I didn't get much.
Did you need 5 more minutes to complete it?
I think we can start if everyone is ready.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's
I am too ready.
Same, I'm too.
So let's look at the first requirement, which is a user name is auto-generated based on last name and a first name. Who wants to share their screen? And as I keep telling
The-
my
Can I share? I don't know, is it correct, but I just got username. And under that one criteria only and 2 criterias.
hang on.
And one,
I don't want description. I want you to share your screen.
so how shall I share?
So I'm gonna do my stop share. You can share your screen. Share your screen and you should be able to. It will come up and everybody in the class can see it too. When you Zoom, you should see a share screen option. You should be able to see it.
I wrote it in a book, so how shall I share?
Take a picture. and
Take
then share.
picture, take picture
Yeah.
and send it to your email?
Yeah, you can do that, or you can take a picture, send it yourself on an email and bring it up here. While she's getting ready to share, is anybody in the class ready with that? Again, I'll tell you, one of the key parts is to have the confidence to share your work with the others. If you all are shy and just sitting at the table, it's not going to help you. Go ahead. You're getting ready to share the second one? Okay. So who else wants to share the first one?
I can share, but I don't know if that's enough. I can share.
Go ahead and
Yeah,
share
I
it.
can share too.
So again, let's start with the one person who is going first. Okay. So Vidhi, if you're going first, go ahead and share it. You all should be able to share your screen. I'm going to even turn on the multiple share. All right. So whoever is sharing online, go ahead and share your screen.
Hi, do you want me to share first?
Go ahead, Rosie.
I don't know if I did right, but yeah, please check. I'm just sharing my screen.
Don't see it.
I don't know. Okay.
You should see a green share screen button. Okay, now it's coming up.
Is it
All
okay?
right. Yeah.
So
let's see.
okay, let me explain as per I know it. So I just put it as a dealer search first, then goes to by dealer name, and then it has the 2 scenario. So one which has the username and the other is the password.
Next,
Yeah, sorry.
hang on. You're talking about the requirement 2.1, which was generating the username.
Mhm.
You have that, share that.
Sorry, can you say again? I can't hear you.
So the requirement 2.1 that I shared in the screen,
Mhm.
which talks username is auto-created using the first name and last one. Do you have a tree built for that? I want you to share that tree.
You mean I did from my side or the
No.
question?
Remember, we
Yeah,
had
okay, that's the one.
this requirement 2.1. No, you're still doing dealer search. Share the screen showing the requirements that I gave as a work to do.
Sorry, I just did this part only. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You should have been working on this one,
Mhm.
the one that I highlighted. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
You should have worked on this one. This is what we are talking about. The other one I already did that, so it doesn't add any more value for you to redo it.
Okay.
Did you build one for this?
No, I just did this part as per I got to know the question. So I can correct after. Yep.
Okay, you need to build a tree for.
Yep. Okay.
Shall I share
Ophelia, are you
my,
ready to share your screen now?
shall I
Uh,
share my screen? Is it okay? Can I
Yes.
share my screen?
Baby, can you stop sharing your screen? Yes.
Sorry, I just stopped sharing. Is it okay now?
Yes, Ophelia, you can share your screen. Can you hear me?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. All right.
Is it okay? The first name?
Ophelia, can you zoom in a little bit more using that zoom in button at the top?
Okay.
Yeah. If you click on that plus button, it'll allow you to zoom it in.
The first one, username. So I thought one criteria only and two criteria. First,
Can you hear us?
first name and last name. Last name, we enter complete last name. And for the two criteria, it should be match first name and last name. I don't know whether it's correct. Hi, can you hear me? Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we were losing. Now we can hear you. Can
Okay.
you go ahead?
Username, for username, I thought one criteria only
I'm
and
trying
two
to see
criteria.
if we are running into any of the Wi-Fi issues here.
Hi,
Hi, I think it's weird. Or Wi-Fi is unstable. Give me a second.
okay.
Let me figure it out if I need to reboot the router or let's say issue from the provider itself. Okay, give me on site. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. I need to reboot the router so that we can connect it properly back to the Zoom. Because I'm seeing it's a very degraded performance. I don't know if it's from the provider or in the Wi-Fi router. So we're gonna try to reboot the router. It'll take like a couple of minutes to recycle through it, and then we'll reconnect it. So let's take 5-minute break. And in the meantime, those who have not finished it, you can continue finishing it up your tree, and then we'll just review it. Okay, Ophelia, so hold on tight for 5 minutes. All right, okay, it looks like we are back. Rebooted router, let's see it if it's not a issue from the provider.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead and share it, Ophelia. I think it's still it's unstable. I'm seeing the signal degradation here on the app. So go ahead. Let's talk through.
For the username, I thought one criteria only and two criteria. And first name and last name. So last name should be enter complete one, and two criteria, first name and last name should be matched.
Okay, so I think if your focus is a little bit in the different direction. So what it says that in order to generate the username, all it says that I need a last name and a first name information. So you're never going to run into a scenario that you will be successful with a one criteria only. So what was in your mind when you say it's the one criteria only? What should be happening as the outcome? What will be your
The requirements is username, right? First name and last name. So that's why I consider that only. So first you have to enter user ID and first you have to enter user ID and password.
So I'm looking. No, it's not about user ID and password, right? So you're generating the username,
Yes.
right? Can you hear me?
Sorry? It's not clear. Hi.
Ophelia, can you share your screen again? Let's see if it works through. And if you're still running into issues, then we will have to look in alternate option
Okay.
and call it a day. Okay. Go ahead and share your screen. All right. So my question, Ophelia, for you
Yes,
is when you use a single, like one criteria only, the first name, what is your expected outcome? Is that going to be successful? It's going to be failure? What is in your mind when you say it's a one criteria versus two criteria?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I thought that are the requirements, first name and last name, so I thought it should match both.
Little different.
But you know, there are so many people who can have
Okay.
the same name. That's what he's trying to get out of it, I think.
Last name should be complete,
Okay.
so because
So like, can you guys hear us?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay. Are you there, Ophelia?
yes,
Okay. So somebody else was also talking about the requirements, whether if it's the same first name and last name. So hang on to that. I don't know, since we are going back and forth, I don't know who was talking on that. But hang on to your design. I want to see it if anybody else wants to share it, and we'll come back in your discussion.
okay.
Okay. Anybody else wants to share? Anybody here in the class wants to share? All right. So go ahead, Shruti. What I'm going to do is actually bring up the thing. So if you can start here on the whiteboard. Yeah, no, I'm trying to see if I can put it the way that the folks online can see. Here, I didn't know, but I was going to convert that into the online. Yeah, let me do that. Online team, just hang on. Shruti is drawing something on the board, and I'm going to try to convert that into PowerPoint. All right, so walk me through this thing. So I see it. So for benefit of online, what Shruti has drawn it on the board is a username, and then there is a branch coming in for first name, another branch for last name, and another one for adding a numeric value. And then the first name then again goes into first alphabet by name and a non-case sensitive. So help me, what is that? So there are 3 test cases that you're thinking of. When you're running this test case, what is it? What happens?
So it can be easy.
No, but think of this way, right? When you're drawing the test cases, the tree,
Yeah.
you're talking about different scenarios, but you're talking complete scenarios. What we have done it is bits and pieces of everything. So that you can't test it, right? So you tell me, when you say first name only, what is happening at this point? Are they providing last name? They're not providing last name? What are they doing? See, it has to be unique cases.
Okay.
Right? Not partial, hey, I'm considering one part of this information, another part of that information. Think of it when we did the security one, right? Both user ID and a password,
Oh, yeah.
right? There were 2 values, but all of that was contained in each one.
So like I should have taken first name and last name, only the first alphabet of the.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's the
name.
formula of how it's created,
Yeah.
right? But think of it, you need to test it. How are we gonna test it? What you described is, hey, this is the logic that I will use. I'm not interested in the logic, right? Logic was already described in the requirement. Tell me what you're testing and how you're testing.
Taking the first alphabet of the first name.
But again, that's the logic. How are you testing? So hang on to that. Anybody else has any different thing?
I don't know, it's something, but I have to play it.
Go ahead.
So in this, so first we are going to test if the system is able to generate the user number now.
Okay, go on.
And then if it's able to, not able to generate, then we are going to see what are the cases why it's not able to generate.
Okay. So if system is not able to generate,
Now, if it's able to generate, then the other branches will be, is it as per the requirement or not?
no, think, you have to think different way. You have to think it, if this is a requirement, how are we going to test it? So let me walk you through it one more time, and then hopefully that will help you. Okay, so think about it, right? So let me share my screen so the people online can see it. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So think of, go ahead and sit down. Right? So think about it, right? So your requirement is that's what your requirement is, right? So the possible scenario you're going to have is so the first thing is no, I think we all are in different tracks. They're just trying to like do something similar. Right. So I want to like get them grounded so that they can use it for the other one. Okay. So think of a scenario, right? When is this thing is going to get auto-generated? It's going to be auto-generated when somebody is trying to create the user, right? So when somebody is trying to create user, they're filling in the first name, last name, and everything, right? So you may run into a scenario that they said, hey, create a user without providing information for the first name or last name, right? So they did not provide. Let's start with the positive case, right? They provided the first name and last name. Okay. So that's one scenario. Okay. Now in this one, you run into two different possibilities. One is there's already a user exists with similar first name and last name, or there is no user exists with similar first name and last name. So this one I can divide it into two cases. Right? You're with me so far? Okay. Another possibility is they do not provide a first name. And they're provided only the last name. Another scenario is they provided the first name, but not the last name. Okay. So think about combinations. So think from scenario point of view. Okay. When you have to test that requirement, what your goal is that can system generate automatically the username, right? So in the formula, they said, hey, it's going to generate based on the first name and last name. And we said the rule they're going to do is they're going to take the first character from the first name and they're going to concatenate that with the last name. So in this scenario, say I have both of that information, but there is a possibility that there's no other users in the system with that first name, last name. So then it's very simple, right? I just take the first character from the first name, take the last name, concatenate, and give that that's a username, right? So I can validate and test that while you're creating a username. Second possibility is that, hey, there is somebody else in the system with the same name already exists. So in this case, we said that, hey, you are going to concatenate the number at the end, right? So it's going to say, hey, does the user exist with that? It says, yes, it does. So let me add the number one. If it's number one user already exists, then add number two. If two exists, then auto increment and you say, hey, box, that's three, and so on. So I can definitely test that as a separate scenario than this one. Now, another scenario is they don't provide first name, but provide the last name. Well, in this case, can I generate the user? I can't, right? Because it's going to fail. There's not going to be data for the first name, first character. So in this scenario, I should not be able to generate it, and I should display a message that, hey, please provide first name to do that. Same thing for the last name. Okay. So some of you think about it like it's one criteria versus two criteria. It is the same concept, right? I provided both the criteria. So it means here I provided only one criteria and it's going to fail. But the scenario here is not one criteria or two criteria. Scenario is, do I have both the pieces of information or not? So this is probably your tree. Now you can write the four test cases to do that. Now you can argue that, hey, I can add a fifth one or fourth one here, which says that you didn't provide first name or last name. But if you think about it, it's either subcase of this thing or subcase of that, right? Because if they provided the first name, then I can just change this thing and say, first name is not provided. Right? In this scenario, whether they provide the last name or not, it's immaterial because I didn't get the first name. And same thing here, you can change this one to say, hey, they did not provide the last name. As long as one of the three conditions does it, then those are the same use cases. I need to test all of them to make sure that the user system is either going to give me an error message or is able to successfully generate a user. Okay. So does that make sense, Ophelia? I think you were more or less kind of on the right track, but the way you need to explain it is a little bit different. Okay.
So,
Yes.
so in this, like, if they provided both first name and last name, and but still system is not able to generate the.
Well, then there is a system error, right?
Okay, so
You don't consider those scenarios. What your focus is, hey, if is system able to generate or not? If system is not able to generate, right, then the test case fails anyway, right? It fails. You're never going to pass it. But that's because you failed it because of system issue, not because of the different scenarios that the user is going to interact with in terms of providing information. Right? At this point, you have black box, right? So think about it. Even in this case, or even in the earlier cases we were talking about login, right? If the system has some problem and they can't log you in, even with a valid credential, all it's going to do is, hey, it's failed. Right? Your expected result did not meet the actual result. So that's a test case failure. But what we are looking for is how many distinct test cases I need to forward in order to validate this requirement is fulfilled or not. That's what the view angle is doing. Okay? Does that make sense, Pratik? What you were trying to do is about bits and pieces? Right. So that's how your thinking thought process needs to be is, hey, what are the distinct scenarios that I need to test it so that system is still fulfills the requirement that I was looking for.
for every requirement, giving you look for the what will be the input based on that you're going to.
Right. You're going to do it as, hey, what are the possible inputs? What are the different combinations that can occur? And does it generate a valid result or invalid result? What should be your expected? Right. You do the same thing, right? Like I said, so in this case, the first two are positive test cases that you should be able to generate it. The last two should result into some sort of an error message, and you should not be able to generate the user. Okay. Are you guys good with me so far? Online? Any questions? Ophelia, Vaipavi?
I got it.
I got it.
All right. So now, based on that, do you want some time to do the second one, or you want to present it?
Take five, I would say take 5 minutes to revise, and revise the second.
Yeah.
But just leave it there, 5 minutes.
Okay. So go ahead and look at it, update it what you needed, and take a screenshot just like what Ophelia did it, and then share it for online. Here you guys can draw it, and then I can just quickly convert it into PowerPoint and share it. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's the logic, right? So you don't care what logic is used, right? So that's the specification and the requirement that you have. It says that, hey, if this exists, this is the rule that you're going to use. And all you have to do it is, hey, that scenario is triggered here. You see the logic. Yeah, so
If you like putting an app, okay? So this is the important part of your day-to-day work. This is why I am using.
All right, we're gonna have Smile come over here and then draw that for us. Let's go ahead and use the blue one.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, he's not talking yet. So hang on, he's just drawing something on the board, and I'll describe it once he's done with the drawing. I'm trying to draw what he has drawn on the board. Yeah. Okay. So let me turn it on. And then you can see if I touch it right there now. Okay. So everybody online should be able to see it and here at the moment that it's on. Okay, there are 6 cases that is drawn it. Oh. So what I did it as a map, this one to here, right? So the first scenario is 8 characters plus uppercase and plus special case. Second scenario is 8 character and uppercase, no special character. Third one is no uppercase but special character and 8. Fourth one is only 8 characters, neither one of them is there. Then 7 character and 9 character. All right. So anybody had anything different than this? Go ahead.
So, first I make the 2 branches in the password. One is 8 characters, other is more. Either is 7 and 9, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So let me do this. So what you're saying is what you did is you just did only 2. Okay. The character. So this is what you did. Okay. All right. Then
And under 8 characters, then there are 4 branches. So that the same that are already there.
okay. All right. Okay. Same, right? That's it. So you have 5. You have 6. Okay. But in a nutshell, right? If you look at it, this is exactly similar to the other one. Because when you say there's not 8 characters, at some point you will say, is it 7 character, 9 character, right? So he's just broken down this into 2 movies. Okay. Anybody else has any different thing? You have the same. How about online? Do you guys have the same thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
instead of 7 and 9 character, no
Yeah.
8 characters.
Okay. So this one.
And I have like 8 character or more and 7 or less with uppercase and special characters.
Okay. So if you think about it, right? It's the same thing that what you draw on it, what he's on it with everybody, right? So you get an idea of how to do that, right? The other way you can do it actually is similar, but you can draw it a different trees, right? Instead of having each one of them unique there, right? You can just say, hey, is there are 8 characters? And then subcase of it, is there a special character in there? Or is there uppercase, right? So the total number will go down because you use a different character, right? But essentially, if you do that, you will still be able to validate the same thing. Right? The one is like you can optimize it, say, hey, I don't need to do this. Right? I can do it just 3. And as long as those 3 condition met, then it's good. Right? So I think if you guys are now getting a hang of it, you understand how to take a requirement, break it down to different scenarios. Now, each one of this is your lead now. So you will go ahead and write test cases like this. Okay. So here is what I'm going to do. Thank you. Here is what I would like us to do. Knowing that we are still seeing an intermittent signal issue, let's just pause here for the day. Okay. But what I want you guys to do is, and I will have Herschel send it out, this thing for you. He will also send it out few additional requirements. And what I want you guys to do is, for all those requirements, the Herschel will send it out to you. Huh? No, it's okay. Yeah. So I think we're gonna pause it because of. So he will send you out some additional requirements. For each one of those requirements, I want you to draw three like this. Okay. Some can use a pen and pencil and take a picture and then do that, or you use a PowerPoint just like what I use. But the whole goal is draw those things. So that's step one. I want you to do. And then step two, I want you to write one test case for each one of them, right? So the requirement we did that was auto generating the username, right? For this one, right, pick one of the three. I don't care which one you pick. Right, write a test case into detail like this one. Okay, so I will have Herschel send out you this empty template also. And then write one test case from this one also. I don't care which one you pick. Just go ahead and write it into detail, step-by-step instructions. And whatever requirements Herschel will send it out, he'll send out about 6 of them. So draw those 6 trees, and for each one of them, take one test case and write it in the flow. So what your requirement is, write 6 trees and 8 test cases in total. You guys good with me? Yes.
So in this one,
Can you say that again?
Hang on 1 minute. Go ahead,
you
Dimple.
mentioned you can also minimize the 3 branches. Can you just
Okay. So hang on to that. Let me finish it, answer the whole questions, and I'll walk you through it. So go ahead. You were saying something?
Could you just repeat that? You said 6 trees and
Total of 8 test cases. Right? So Herschel, here's what you need to do. And he will send it out an email and explain this one, right? So these are the 3 things that you need to do. Okay. Everybody good with that? Did it help online?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
So-
I have a question. Like you just show that screen, it shows the test case. You just wrote the information. Could you share it once again for me, please?
So you're talking about this?
No. The case you just wrote on that what it's called on the file I'm talking about before the questions.
You're talking
Uh,
about
to,
this
to,
one?
yes, yeah, that's page. Can you maximize, please? Because
Partial will send-
will he send it with the information because it's blank on my page.
Yes. So Harshal will send you those.
Okay. Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Harshal will send you the 4 things. Do you need anything else? All right. So let's go through the other thing that Simple asked it in the class. Hey, can you draw it the different way that you're crossing the street? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and soften this thing, right? So the way I would, another possible way you can do it is start with the same tree, each character or not equal to each character. Or typically the way I do it is since it's 2 different scenarios, um, I typically do it this one. Right? I do it okay. And then what I do is to check it, is it uppercase, right? And if it is, then I check it. Okay. So if you look into it, right, so now, if it's 8 character, I continue to my tree. Is it uppercase? Yes or no, right? If it is yes, I check it's the third one, right? So at this stage, there's 1 leaf, 2 leaf, 3, 4, and 5 for word services. Earlier, you had 6 test cases, right? So instead of 6, I brought it down to 5. You can, but you have to then give a test case which is, okay, is there a lesson? So you have to test with 7 or less, and then you also have to test with 8 or 9 or more. Because still, you can't just say, hey, it's less than each character or more than each character. Those are 2 branches. You have to validate that each one is working as expected. So that's why I did it this way. Right? So you can do it this way, it'll give you the same result, right? Because if you look at it, it's nothing but exactly that, what you both of you came up with. So there's no difference. Right? So this is more optimized way. Right? This one, no matter how many conditions you have it, you will get, because all of them conditions are built on top of each other.
So in this we have 4, in this we have 4 test cases.
5. This is the first one, right? So if there is a 8 character uppercase and special character, that's 1. 8 character, no uppercase is 2. 8 character uppercase and no special case is 3. 4th is less than 8 characters. 5th is more than 8 characters. That's all. It's just to go about a different way and eliminate one more redundancy. That's all it is. Right, but either way, whether you do it this or you do it this, it's the right way. It covers your requirement. Okay? Good? Okay. Now, I would put this. This is where I would have you guys spend most of the time making sure you understand it. What is this process, how to break it down, and then how to write the test case. Because for 70% of your workload that you will be doing in real world will be nothing but this. Right? So ability to understand the requirement and break it down is the most crucial. Everything else is just a use of tool. Okay. But this is why people pay you money for, to come up with the different scenarios and validate. Okay. So I'll have Harshal send it out all of this data for you. Okay.
Philip, I just sent out email for the homework, so you guys should have it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll send it out also this thing that I
Yeah,
can have
that's
decided.
it.
So
Yeah,
let me
we'll
just
send it
say
out
it.
later on in the second email.
Yeah. All right, so you send it out how many? 6 requirements?
6 requirement total, the template that we talked about,
Yeah.
you can start filling out right there in the computer. And yeah, a couple of other things.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get it before here in the next hour, so we'll give you this thing. Marshall, I think recording the cloud is still on.
Yep.
Should not have impacted our pickup. So once it's erased, it will be.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
send you the recording, yeah, but
It'll take about 4 or 5 hours.
this thing comes only with the practice, and you're not gonna find there anywhere in any kind of book, okay? This, whatever technique that we are showing you, this is the real life technique that we apply in the real world. It's not gonna be anywhere in the book, no matter how many videos you watch, you will never find it. Okay, so make sure you finish the homework, work more practice, and we're gonna dedicate, I think, next Saturday as well, on the same thing, reviewing your work, because you wanna review and see how much you are improved. Okay, so that's gonna help you a lot. And then after that, technology side is no brainer. You guys will be what you have is just here. So we are wrapping up.
Yeah, we're wrapping it
Okay.
up. I just said it's like, yeah.
All right, so it's not even 12, but I think we should be good. If we need more time, we will very good more. What I know. Yes, Thursday you need to have the scenario tree, right?
And
Plus
one test case.
one test case for every requirement. Yes, so we'll just pick one list, right? And create the detailed test case and then we can review. Make sure you spend time, okay? This is gonna be critical week, and if you miss this one, then after that it's all gonna be technology. So make sure you spend at least 5 hours to start whatever it is.
So also, along with the template, you need to send it out this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in a separate.
Can you say again what he said for Thursday? What we supposed to do on Thursday? Sorry.
Partial thing that I typed it up earlier. Okay,
Okay.
so you need to do this thing. That's all he said.
Let me pull up the email I send if they won't need clarification so that they can just see here. Make sure they understand what they are doing. So I attach a few requirements here. So this is one set of requirements. These are 4. Okay. These are lender related requirements. There is a one requirement for the site administrator. Okay. And the last requirement, I think this one is notification type of thing. Allow credit application after credit application is submitted, system shall notify lender via email. Okay, so those are 6 requirements that we have to do. Now, what we said is, so make sure you create test scenarios for 6 requirements below, right? Whatever is the test, plus write one detailed test case for each requirement. So once you break it down, you just pick one requirement and create the detailed test cases. And okay, so those are 2 additional ones. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. And then I have the test case template that we use typically. If you want to use Excel, it's perfectly fine. If not, just use the Word template. Doesn't matter because we're gonna be using tools anyway later on. So just write it in this format, and you guys should be okay. Doesn't matter. Pick whichever one you like. I think it will take you at least 4 to 6 hours, depending on your speed and all those things. Okay, at home. So don't wait till Thursday to create this thing. Just get it done. That's what they do tell you in real life. I mean, just get it done. So I'm sure you guys can fix it.
And Thursday we'll just show it in your, you don't need to share it as soon as you come.
Yeah.
No, further discussion. Yeah, Thursday is online.
Yeah, Thursday will be online. Yeah. All right. Anybody has any question online now? I guess.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye bye.
Anybody has any question or not, then we're gonna call it a day here, okay? Yeah. Let me type the email for them.